how your words control your reality, the secret power of speech. Dear friends, have you ever felt as though life is running on autopilot, as if your thoughts, your beliefs, and even the words you speak were decided by someone else long before you had a chance to choose? If so, you are not alone. Many of us live silently bound by invisible chains, forged by the language and ideas absorbed since childhood. In Buddhist teachings, we learn that samavaka, right speech, is one of the key paths to liberation. Words are not mere sounds. They are seeds planted in the fertile soil of the mind. These seeds grow into the forest of your reality, shaping how you perceive the world, how you feel, and ultimately who you become. The modern world often overlooks this ancient wisdom, yet science now confirms what the Buddha taught. Words carry vibrations, energies that influence our body and mind in profound ways. Every word you speak is like a gentle incantation, a vibration casting ripples across the pond of your existence. But what if the language you have been using, unknowingly, has been confining you within limitations? What if the habitual words you repeat daily are silently scripting a reality far smaller than your true potential? This is not your fault. Society's language often acts as a subtle spell, keeping us tied to beliefs of scarcity, fear, and limitation. Today, let us begin the journey of awakening, not unlike the Buddha's own path from ignorance to enlightenment, by reclaiming the power of words. By choosing them with mindfulness and intention, you can reprogram your mind, dissolve invisible boundaries, and start to create a life that reflects your deepest hopes and highest wisdom. You are not merely a passive recipient of language. You are the author of your story, the weaver of your reality. This moment is your invitation to step beyond the old scripts and walk the path of freedom with your own voice. Are you ready to awaken your true power? To speak words that heal, uplift, and open doors to joy, peace, and fulfillment? If so, let us begin. Words are seeds, shaping the garden of the mind. In the vast and intricate landscape of the human mind, Buddhist teachings offer a beautiful metaphor. The mind is like a garden, fertile and alive, constantly nurtured by the seeds we plant. These seeds are our words, spoken to ourselves and to the world. When we sow seeds of kindness, compassion, and wisdom, the garden blossoms into a sanctuary of peace and joy. But if we scatter seeds of fear, anger, or doubt, the garden becomes tangled with weeds of suffering and unrest. This ancient truth is not just poetic imagery, it is a profound reality, one that modern science is beginning to understand with clarity. Dr. Masaru Emoto, a pioneering researcher, showed us that water, which makes up roughly 60% of our body, is sensitive to the vibrations of words. When exposed to positive words like love and gratitude, water forms beautiful symmetrical crystals, harmonious and pure. Conversely, negative words such as hate or fear distort the crystalline structure into chaotic, broken patterns. What does this mean for us? Since our bodies are predominantly water, every word we speak reverberates not only in our minds, but also deep within our physical being. Words are not just empty sounds, they are waves of energy that flow through us, influencing our cells, our emotions, and our overall health. Consider how a simple phrase of kindness can uplift your spirit, soften your heart, and even bring a sense of calm to your body. On the other hand, harsh words, whether spoken to others or silently repeated within ourselves, act like poison, seeping into the fabric of our being, causing tension, stress, and disharmony. This understanding calls us to a deep responsibility, to recognize the immense power held in the words we choose each day. Every utterance becomes a ripple, radiating outward, shaping not only our inner world, but also the environment and relationships around us. Words have the power to heal wounds, build bridges, and cultivate joy, or to deepen divisions, sow confusion, and nurture pain. From the Buddhist perspective, this is intimately connected with right speech, samavaka, one of the foundational elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech encourages us to speak truthfully, kindly, and with intention. When we align our words with compassion and mindfulness, we tend the garden of the mind with care, allowing our lives to flourish in harmony with the world. Every moment we have the opportunity to sow new seeds. When you wake up, what words do you speak to yourself? When you face challenges, what narrative do you repeat? If you find fear or anger creeping into your garden, gently acknowledge it without judgment and choose to plant seeds of patience and understanding instead. This practice is not about perfection, but presence. Being aware of the energy behind your speech and using it as a tool for transformation. Like a gardener tending to delicate plants, we cultivate the soil of our mind, nurturing thoughts and words that encourage growth, resilience, and peace. So today, remember, your words are far more than mere sounds. They are sacred seeds that can nourish the heart or poison it. The choice lies within you. Speak with intention, speak with love, and watch as the garden of your mind transforms into a vibrant, peaceful refuge, reflecting the deepest truths of who you are. The invisible chains of language. Language is more than a tool for communication. It is a subtle architecture shaping how we see the world and ourselves. At first glance, everyday words like contract, mortgage, and occupation may seem neutral, even mundane. But when we pause to look beneath their surface, we find hidden meanings, echoes of ancient concepts that reveal how language can quietly bind us in ways we rarely notice. Take the word contract. Its roots lie in Latin, con meaning together, and tract meaning to draw or pull. Together, they evoke the image of two forces drawn tightly together, an agreement, yes, but also a binding, a pulling that limits freedom. Contracts are essential in society, yet they symbolize how we willingly, or sometimes unwittingly, tie ourselves to obligations and expectations that may constrain our spirit. Then consider mortgage. It is a word heavy with symbolism, derived from the Old French mort, meaning death, and gage, meaning pledge. A mortgage is literally a death pledge. This linguistic truth paints a vivid picture of a long-term commitment that can feel like a slow surrender of freedom. Years or decades spent in service to an obligation that occupies not just our finances, but also our mental and emotional energy. And what about occupation? At first, we think simply of our job or profession, but to occupy means to fill or take over space. Our work, while necessary and valuable, can become an occupying force in our lives, consuming our time, thoughts, and energy. It can distract us from deeper questions about purpose, meaning, and the nature of our existence. We may find ourselves trapped, not by physical chains, but by the invisible occupation of our own minds. These words, and many others like them, act as subtle spells cast by society. They build invisible walls, fences that confine us within roles and identities that may feel normal, but do not necessarily reflect our true selves. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we cling to fixed ideas, when we identify too strongly with transient labels and external conditions. Language can reinforce these attachments, conditioning us to accept limits that imprison our spirit. From a Buddhist perspective, this is a call to mindfulness, not just about what we say, but about the meanings we accept and internalize without question. It invites us to look closely at the words we use, to recognize when language acts as a cage rather than a key. Are we unknowingly repeating phrases that limit our potential, confine our freedom, or dull our awareness? By uncovering the hidden meanings of everyday words, we begin to see the invisible chains that hold us. And through awareness, we can begin to loosen these bonds. Language, once recognized as a powerful force shaping our reality, can become a tool for liberation. We can choose words that open doors instead of closing them, that heal instead of harm. This insight is deeply compassionate. It honors the complexity of human life, the ways we are shaped by culture, history, and society, while reminding us that within each of us lies the potential to reclaim freedom through mindful speech and conscious living. As we awaken to the power of language, we can gently untangle ourselves from these invisible bindings, nurturing a life that resonates with our true nature, free, expansive, and alive with possibility. Awakening from the sleep of conditioning. In the heart of Buddhist teaching lies the profound notion of bodhi, awakening. It is more than simply opening one's eyes to the physical world. It is the radiant seeing of reality beyond the veils of illusion and conditioned thought. Awakening is a kind of inner death, a gentle but decisive letting go of the old stories, beliefs, and mental scripts that society, culture, and habit have handed us like heavy cloaks. This idea of awakening as a form of death resonates deeply with the Buddha's teaching on anicca, the impermanence of all things. To awaken, we must be willing to relinquish the comforting but limiting identities we have clung to shed the ignorance of avidya that blinds us to our true nature. Yet, there is a quiet paradox embedded in our daily lives. Each morning, When we wake, we also mourn, mourning the loss of dreams, hopes, and potential dimmed by the repetitive grind of routine and the invisible fences of limitation. It is no accident that these two words sound alike. In their linguistic dance, they reveal the subtle truth of human experience. To awaken is also to face the grief of what has been lost or left behind. But here lies the power of awakening. With mindful awareness of the words we speak, to others and ourselves, we begin to dissolve the invisible chains of conditioning. The words, "I am not good enough," though often repeated unconsciously, are seeds of limitation, planting doubt and fear in the fertile soil of the mind. They grow into walls that block the light of possibility. However, by shifting our language, by choosing words like, "I am learning and growing," we water a different garden, one of liberation, growth, and compassion toward ourselves. This simple practice is a form of right speech, samavaka, one of the Eightfold Path's pillars, nurturing freedom from self-imposed prisons. This process of awakening is not a sudden, dramatic event, but a gentle unfolding, a slow unbinding of the knots that have tied us to suffering. It requires patience, kindness, and continual practice. When we become conscious of the stories we tell ourselves, we can begin to rewrite them, transforming the narrative from one of limitation into one of possibility. The Buddha's teaching on dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness or suffering inherent in existence, reminds us that much of our pain arises from clinging to false identities and fixed ideas. Awakening invites us to see these patterns clearly and let them go with compassion, creating space for a life lived with openness, curiosity, and freedom. In this light, every moment of mindful speech is an act of liberation. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't," pause and gently replace it with, "I am learning." When I'm stuck arises, shift to, "I am growing." These small but powerful changes are the footsteps on the path toward Bodhi, awakening to your true, unbounded nature. Remember, awakening is a return, not to something new, but to what has always been beneath the surface, the radiant, compassionate essence of your being, free from the sleep of conditioning. Reclaiming language as a tool for freedom. How do we begin to break free from the invisible cages forged by language, the subtle scripts that shape our beliefs, limit our vision, and confine our spirit? The first and most essential step is awareness. It starts with the simple yet profound practice of listening deeply to the words we speak, not just to others, but especially to ourselves. We must ask with genuine curiosity and compassion, are my words confining me, or are they setting me free? In the teachings of the Buddha, this practice is encapsulated in samavaka, right speech. Right speech is more than avoiding lies or harsh words. It is the intentional use of language grounded in truthfulness, kindness, and helpfulness. When our speech aligns with these principles, we lay the foundation for harmony within ourselves and in our relationships with the world around us. This realignment of language begins with small but powerful shifts in how we talk to ourselves. The mind is plastic, adaptable. Neuroscience shows us that the phrases we repeat regularly carve neural pathways, literally shaping the structure of our brain. When we replace limiting statements like "I can't" with empowering questions such as "How can I?" or reframe "This is too hard" to "What can I learn from this?" we open the door to possibility. These linguistic shifts invite curiosity and growth rather than resistance and fear. But words alone are not enough. The Buddha's path is holistic. It calls for integrating speech with mindful intention and embodied practice. Visualization is one such practice that supports this transformation. When you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, feeling confident and capable, you are engaging not just your conscious mind, but also your subconscious. Affirmations, when sincere and believable, resonate deeply within your inner landscape, rewiring limiting beliefs and paving the way for genuine change. Imagine your mind as a fertile garden. Each word you choose to speak is a seed planted in this soil. Visualization waters those seeds with vibrant energy, helping them sprout into realities aligned with your deepest values and aspirations. The consistent pairing of mindful speech and visualization becomes a powerful practice of right intention. Another pillar of the Noble Eightfold Path, guiding you away from the habits of fear and toward the freedom of creative expression. From a compassionate Buddhist perspective, reclaiming language is also an act of self-love. Too often, we internalize harsh, judgmental voices from society or our own past, repeating scripts that diminish our worth. By consciously choosing words of kindness, encouragement, and possibility, we break cycles of suffering that may have echoed through generations. This transformation ripples outward. When you speak from a place of awareness and compassion, your words have the power not only to liberate yourself, but also to uplift those around you. Language becomes a bridge rather than a barrier, a tool to weave connection, healing, and understanding. In practical terms, cultivating right speech means pausing before you speak, especially in moments of stress or doubt, and asking, is this true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? If the answer is no, consider choosing different words, or perhaps choosing silence. Silence itself can be a sacred form of speech, a space where mindfulness and compassion deepen. By reclaiming language as a tool for freedom, we embrace a radical possibility that the very words which once bound us can become the keys to our liberation. In this light, every conversation, every thought, every silent word becomes a moment of practice, a chance to awaken, to heal, and to create a life rich with meaning and peace. The collective spell, language and society. Language, while deeply personal, is also profoundly collective. It is the thread weaving together the fabric of society, shaping our shared reality in ways we often overlook. Words are not neutral. They carry weight, power, and intention. The media, culture, and those in positions of authority wield language as a tool to frame how we perceive events, people, and ourselves. Take, for instance, the words riot versus protest. Both describe acts of public demonstration, yet the emotional charge and societal reaction they provoke are vastly different. Riot conjures images of chaos, violence, and danger, invoking fear and rejection. Protest, by contrast, evokes a sense of moral purpose, collective voice, and the pursuit of justice. This framing influences public opinion, often swaying hearts and minds towards support or condemnation before a single action is understood. This is not a coincidence, but a deliberate use of language as a form of social control, a collective spell that molds our understanding and reaction to the world around us. It shapes narratives, setting boundaries around what is acceptable to believe or say. In Buddhist terms, this is akin to Maya, the illusion or veil that obscures true reality, keeping beings trapped in conditioned responses and suffering. One striking social phenomenon illustrating this dynamic is the spiral of silence. It describes how dominant narratives suppress minority voices, creating an environment where people with dissenting opinions feel isolated, fearful, or unwilling to speak out. The pressure to conform can be so strong that silence becomes a survival strategy. Over time, this silence reinforces the illusion of consensus, narrowing the range of ideas that circulate and deepening collective ignorance. From the perspective of compassion and wisdom, the twin pillars of Buddhist practice, this spiral of silence and linguistic control is a profound source of suffering. It fractures communities, silences truth, and perpetuates misunderstanding. It keeps individuals disconnected from their own voice and from one another. To awaken is to see through these linguistic frames, to recognize the invisible hand guiding our thoughts and feelings through carefully chosen words. Awakening involves questioning the words imposed upon us by culture, media, and authority. It invites us to peel back layers of conditioned meaning and discover deeper truths beneath the surface. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a compassionate practice of mindfulness and discernment. When we become aware of the subtle power of language to shape reality, we gain the freedom to choose words that reflect authenticity, kindness, and clarity. We cultivate a language that heals divisions rather than deepens them, that invites understanding rather than suspicion. In practical terms, this means approaching the stories we hear and tell with curiosity and care. It means recognizing bias and intention in media narratives, refusing to be passive recipients of linguistic manipulation. It means creating space for diverse voices, especially those marginalized or silenced, and honoring the complexity of lived experience. Ultimately, reclaiming language from the collective spell is an act of liberation, not just for ourselves, but for society as a whole. It is a step toward building a world rooted in compassion, wisdom, and genuine connection. In this way, our words become not tools of control, but instruments of awakening and healing. Words as vibration, a quantum perspective. At the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern science, we discover a profound truth. Reality is not fixed and solid, but fluid and responsive, shaped intimately by consciousness itself. Quantum physics reveals that observation, the act of awareness, fundamentally alters the behavior of particles. Like a mirror reflecting the observer, reality is co-created by the act of witnessing. This scientific insight resonates deeply with the Buddhist understanding that mind and reality are interdependent. When we speak, our words are not merely sounds carried through the air. They are vibrations, energetic ripples that interact with the unseen quantum field around us. Each word acts as an act of observation, collapsing countless possibilities into the specific outcome we experience. In essence, language is a form of creative power, a tool through which we participate in the unfolding of our own reality. Consider the vibrational nature of words. High-frequency words, love, joy, gratitude, carry a subtle yet potent energy that uplifts the body, calms the mind, and harmonizes the environment. These words align with the natural rhythms of life, nurturing health, well-being, and connection. In contrast, low-frequency words, hate, fear, anger, disrupt this harmony, generating discord not only within ourselves, but also in our surroundings. From a Buddhist perspective, this aligns with the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, not just in actions, but in speech and thought. Every word we utter sets into motion a chain of consequences that shape our experience and the experiences of others. Words become seeds planted in the fertile field of existence, bearing fruits that nourish or poison. This understanding calls us to awaken to the sacred responsibility carried in our speech. Speech is never passive or neutral. It is an active creative force, a manifestation of our intention and consciousness. When we speak with mindfulness, compassion, and clarity, we participate in the co-creation of a reality that reflects these qualities. Practically, this invites us to cultivate a daily practice of awareness around our words. Before speaking, we might pause and sense the vibration our words carry. Do they elevate or diminish? Do they open pathways of peace or deepen divisions? Such mindful speech becomes a meditation, a continuous alignment with our highest values. This perspective also illuminates why affirmations and mantras have been central to spiritual traditions for millennia. Repeated words, imbued with intention and focused awareness, entrain the mind and body to resonate with desired states, be it healing, courage, or compassion. The vibrations we generate ripple through the quantum field, subtly but surely shaping the contours of our lived experience. Ultimately, recognizing words as vibrational forces bridges the ancient and the modern, the mystical and the empirical. It invites a compassionate stewardship of language, a deep respect for its power to shape worlds both within and without. Through conscious speech, we honor the profound interconnectedness of all things, knowing that each word we speak sends ripples across the vast web of life. Practical steps to harness your word power. Harnessing the power of your words is both an ancient practice and a deeply modern necessity. In the Buddhist tradition, awareness, sati, is the first step toward liberation. It is the gentle, unwavering attention we bring to our present moment experience, including the words we speak to ourselves and others. The journey begins with deep listening to your self-talk. Notice the phrases that run on autopilot in your mind, those habitual stories that shape your sense of self. Are they rooted in fear, doubt, or limitation? Or do they reflect kindness, confidence, and possibility? When you catch negative phrases, greet them with compassion rather than judgment. Like a caring gardener tending to delicate plants, gently uproot these limiting thoughts and replace them with positive, empowering alternatives. This is not about forcing false optimism, but about cultivating truths that resonate with your authentic experience. For example, transforming "I'm not good enough" into "I am learning and growing" nurtures a fertile ground for change. Affirmations, when practiced mindfully, become powerful tools to reprogram the subconscious mind. But their effectiveness hinges on authenticity. Choose words that feel believable and aligned with your current beliefs. If "I am successful" feels distant, start with "I am open to growth" or "I am capable of learning." These affirmations are seeds that, with patience and repetition, blossom into new neural pathways and ways of being. Mindful speech goes beyond self-talk. It calls us to speak with intention and compassion in all our interactions. The Buddha's teaching of right speech reminds us to avoid falsehood, harshness, and gossip, instead embracing truthfulness, kindness, and helpfulness. Speaking mindfully transforms language from mere communication into an act of loving kindness, metta, fostering harmony within and between beings. In today's media-saturated world, it is vital to cultivate discernment. Observe the language used by news outlets, social media, and cultural narratives. Question the intent behind the words. Are they designed to inform, to manipulate, to incite fear or division? By developing this critical awareness, you protect your mind from unconscious conditioning and reclaim your power to choose what thoughts and feelings you nourish. Visualization is another potent practice to align words with experience. Pair positive affirmations with vivid mental imagery of success, peace, or healing. This combination speaks directly to the subconscious, where belief systems take root. Athletes, performers, and spiritual practitioners alike use visualization to deepen intention and manifest desired outcomes. In Buddhist meditation, visualization supports the cultivation of wholesome qualities like compassion and wisdom, reinforcing the transformative power of language. Together, these practices form a compassionate path to harnessing your word power. They invite you to become a conscious creator of your inner and outer world, one phrase at a time, one breath at a time. In doing so, you awaken the deep truth that your words are not just sounds, but living vibrations, capable of healing, inspiring, and liberating. In the quiet folds of a remote monastery, there lived an elder monk whose life was a testament to the transformative power of mindful speech. His journey was not one of ease or privilege. It was marked by years of hardship, loss, criticism, and the relentless challenges that life often brings to even the most devoted practitioners. Yet, what distinguished him was not the absence of suffering, but the conscious way he engaged with it. When faced with harsh words or misfortune, the monk would retreat inward, observing his mind without judgment. Rather than reacting with blame or anger, he would silently shift the narrative, transforming thoughts of resentment into those of gratitude. This practice of mindful speech, rooted in deep awareness and compassion, became the cornerstone of his resilience. Each word he chose to think or speak was like a gentle wave, washing away the sediments of pain and opening space for peace to arise. Over time, this subtle alchemy reshaped his inner world and radiated outward, touching everyone who crossed his path. Visitors to the monastery often remarked on the serene strength that seemed to emanate from him, a presence both grounding and uplifting. They witnessed how his speech, imbued with kindness and clarity, dissolved conflicts and nurtured harmony in the community. His life became a living dharma, a teaching through example, that words, when spoken with intention and heart, have the power to heal wounds both visible and invisible. From a Buddhist standpoint, this story encapsulates the profound truth of right speech, one of the pillars on the path to liberation. It illustrates how awareness transforms language from a tool of reaction into a vehicle of liberation. Words cease to be mere sounds or labels. They become seeds of healing, compassion, and insight, capable of opening new pathways where none seemed possible. This transformation is not reserved for monks or mystics alone. It is accessible to all who are willing to cultivate mindfulness in their speech, to recognize the power held in every word, and to choose those words with care and compassion. It is a practice that honors our shared humanity, our capacity for growth, and our innate connection to all beings. The elder monk's life invites us to reflect. How might we too transform our inner dialogue? How can we turn moments of struggle into opportunities for gratitude and healing? In embracing this practice, we awaken to the sacred power of language, words that not only describe our world, but actively create it, lighting the way toward freedom and peace. Dear friends, through the ancient wisdom of the Buddha and the modern truths revealed by science, we now understand a profound reality. Words are more than sounds. They are the very threads that weave the fabric of your life. Every word you speak, every thought you nurture, is a seed planted in the garden of your mind, destined to grow into the reality you experience. If you have ever felt trapped by invisible chains, know this: those chains were forged by unconscious words and beliefs. But just as a gardener can clear the weeds and nurture fresh blooms, so too can you uproot limiting language and plant seeds of liberation, compassion, and joy. This awakening is your invitation to reclaim your speech, to speak with mindfulness and intention, to become the conscious creator of your life story. When you speak words rooted in love, gratitude, and possibility, you align with your highest self and open the door to true freedom. Remember, the journey is not about perfection, but progress. Each small shift in language is a step toward awakening from the sleep of conditioning. It is the gentle but powerful transformation of your inner world that will ripple outward, influencing your body, your mind, and even those around you. So today, make the vow to listen deeply to your words. Choose them like a monk, choosing each step on the path, with care, awareness, and purpose. Let your speech be a balm, a light, and a bridge to a reality filled with peace and fulfillment. Your power lies not in external circumstances, but in the words you choose to live by. Speak wisely, speak kindly, speak freely, and watch as your life transforms, moment by moment, word by word. May you walk this path with courage and compassion, awakening ever more fully to the radiant truth within you.